Why would we want to install an ePub reader? Because of different screen sizes. In 2007, when we started producing video tutorials that were aimed at helping individual students learn at their own pace, Windows desktop computers had about 90% of the market, Apple about 9%, and various Unix-like systems had the other 1%. All had roughly similar screen sizes, so we could aim videos and images at a screen size of 640 by 480 pixels. But not now. If we believe Intel authorities, Windows still has 90% of the desktop market, Apple 6%, Google's Chromebook 3%, and Unix-like systems 1%, with screens that go from small up to full HD. But now Google has said most queries come from mobile phones, with Google's Android phone selling about 6 worldwide for every iPhone, and Windows down to about 3% of the market. Screen sizes vary from 3 inches to a rumored 10-inch. Panasonic have announced that the touchscreen on the back of some of their cameras will be converted to a smartphone, and Marshall amplifiers that will be familiar to many musicians have produced a playback device for musicians which will include a smartphone. The Internet of Things has meant that all sorts of appliances can be connected to the Internet. I'm not sure why anyone would want to read our tutorials on the Internet-connected refrigerator, but who am I to judge? So how on earth could our small group plan for the future? We've been looking at ebooks, but until recently none have allowed the inclusion of videos. Now some can. Let us look at the difference between the way a PDF reader and an ebook reader cope with different screen sizes. Let us start up a PDF reader. It's got a heading, photograph, paragraph. It's got a hyperlink to a YouTube video and another paragraph. And we can simulate the effects of smaller screen. Suppose we've got a smaller screen. Let's pull a right-hand screen in, and you'll notice the whole thing is scaled. Now, the nice thing about this is you can have quite a small image. We'll move the bottom up to simulate what happens when we're on a small phone screen, for example, and we've got a full page showing. The font, however, is smaller. I have some problems reading this size. Now, if I wanted to enlarge it, instead of 40%, I could change it, say, to 75%, and I've got to scan sideways if I want to read some of the text. What proportion of the populations have problems with small print on phones? Optometrists define visual acuity using a chart produced by the Dutchman Herman Snellen in 1862 and amazingly still in use. If you can read the bottom 4 lines from this, you've got visions 20/20, which is regarded as being satisfactory. A lucky 10% of the population have 20/10 vision. All of this 30% of the population would have little trouble with reading small print on their smartphones. However, 70% of the population will need spectacles, and if you're in this group, or if you can't find your spectacles, then the ability to be able to enlarge font is a really useful thing. Let us take a look at an ePub document and compare it with the PDF document which we've just looked at. Now you'll see it's very similar. The image size and the font size are a bit different, but it's the same sort of layout as we saw before. Now, as we move the edges of this image, of the browser image, to simulate a smaller screen, take a look at what happens to the words. See, we've got use it there. If we made the screen size smaller, in Adobe PDF the whole screen is scaled down. With an ePub the fonts are the same size and the words are bounced to the next line. It's a more intelligent approach to a smaller screen. And if they're on the bottom, it just bumps them across to the next page. Okay, we'll take a look at our Lego EV3 computer brick there. On a smaller screen we can click this to go to the next page, and this is now on the next page. Okay, we go back to the previous page, and so it deals with the text in an intelligent manner. If we want to look at various parts of the text and go directly to a particular chapter, we've got a table of contents. We can, for example, to go building your third robot tutorial, close down the table of contents, and here we are here. Go back to the fourth one we're looking at, teaching a robot to move, and again we've come back to the fourth document we were looking at before. So this is nice. Now suppose we've got a really tiny screen that we might simulate what we've got on our iPhone or our Android phone or our Windows phone. We don't get very much text, and we may prefer the situation we had with Adobe where everything was scaled down. We've got a nice feature. Here we can change the font size. And so you'll notice in this particular case we've now got more or less the equivalent of the Adobe situation. It's not quite scaled, but we've got almost the entire page on one screen. Now if we've a person who's got significant sight problems and we've got a tablet, I've taught some students who've got really big problems with sight, and you can enlarge the font to an enormous size, and certainly for some of the students that I've taught, those rare ones with real sight problems, this can be an absolute lifesaver when it comes to trying to understand tutorial notes, certainly in a university and a high school course. So it looks like the ePub Reader has got a nearly nice arrangement. We can change the font size to whatever we want, and we can deal with different sizes of screens. The other thing about it is that recently we've been able to deal with links to videos as well. Here's a link to teaching our first robot to move. Now we can click on that to start the video. We type the commands to instruct our robot what to do into a laptop, and we have to somehow we'll stop that so I can talk over the top. So this will come up. We've deliberately made this to go to a full screen because our students are more used to that and they get a bigger video. Let's close that down and we go back to our document. Okay, so it looks like the ePub has a lot of things we like. You can change the font size will adjust to different screen sizes, and we can link to videos. And it's because of these nice things about the ePub that we will be looking at putting more of our work into ePub format. Thank you for watching this video.